I get asked a lot how I got into houseplants because I'm living in a country, a completely different country to where I started off and where I was born, and I'm doing a completely different job to what I studied at university. So in this video, I'm going to share my houseplant journey with you, how plants have helped me, particularly during the COVID lockdown, and I'll be sharing a few things that I perhaps haven't shared on social media before. So let's get going. Before I delve into all of that, today's my birthday and I thought this video is a great reflection and to share with you how I got to where I am today. It's also good for me to reflect on my journey because you forget what you've done along the way and how you got to where you are today. Part of my gifts that my family and my children gave me was this hand-drawn sign by my 12-year-old for my new YouTube channel. I'm quite new on YouTube. I've always been on other social media platforms, but I'm really trying to build a lovely YouTube community similar to what I've done on all my other social channels. So he drew this for me for my birthday. So if you like my video, please give it a like. If you would like to subscribe to see more of my videos, please do that. And please leave a comment. This is my new framed picture that will forever be in my plant room. I love it. So please like, subscribe and comment. So now let's get going. As I'm sharing my journey with you, I thought I'd get on with some houseplant chores that I desperately need to do that I've been putting off. I've got this rescue syngonium that I need to desperately repot. There are some dead leaves here. The soil is not looking great, so I really need to repot this lovely plant in fresh soil. The colour typically is pink, but because this plant just hasn't had sufficient light, it's been in old soil in a really small pot, the colour has faded slightly. So I'm going to be chopping off all of these dead leaves, clearing up the roots, giving it some fresh soil, and hopefully it will perk up very soon. And I also have this philodendron Florida green, which I need to repot. It's been in my propagation vase. I'm just checking the roots. Yeah, they're looking all right. But this is another rescue and the plant was just not looking great. So I took it out the soil, popped it in some water, and it's actually growing a brand new leaf. So this needs to go into some fresh soil. I also have some propagations, plants that I've taken cuttings of that needs to go into some pots. This is for a school project. Every month I donate 5 plants to a local primary school, plants that I have cut and propagated, and I pot them up into some fresh soil and they have a decorative pot. You may have heard, I'm sure everybody's heard of Ivy Line. So I've partnered with Ivy Line and they have very kindly donated these lovely pots. Every month I get different pots from them. So the school gets 5 plants for their wellbeing room in lovely pots for the children and for the students to enjoy, just to bring a bit of nature and a bit of greenery into their space. So that's what I'll be doing as I'm sharing my journey with you. So now really, let's get going and I'll tell you about my journey. I thought I'd start with a syngonium and I'm just going to remove the soil and remove all the dead leaves. So my journey started in South Africa. I was born in South Africa in a very rural part of South Africa, and my upbringing was very remote and rural and outdoorsy, and I always had my hands in soil. So no doubt that's why I love getting my hands in soil now, because it's such a connection to nature and it's such a memory for me and of my upbringing. I lived with my family and grew up and went to school in South Africa. I have such a lovely memory of just being outdoors and just enjoying nature, being surrounded by so many beautiful plants that I now have in my plant room. And I often wonder if I really appreciated those plants around me when I was growing up. Because when I go back now, I'm just in awe of all of these plants growing outside. And I feel really privileged to have such a nature-based upbringing and being surrounded by these lovely plants. When I was 19, I decided, 19, I finished high school, and I decided that I didn't want to go to university straight away, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So I decided to move to America for 13 months. It was just over a year. I lived in Ohio, and I lived with an American family looking after their two lovely boys, and both of those boys are doctors now. Can't believe it's such a long time ago. So I lived with a lovely family. I travelled. I went to New York. I went to Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I went to Chicago. I went to Canada. So I had a really lovely time, a lovely year in America. I love the culture. I love the American people, and I had a lovely time. But unfortunately, it was only to be for a year. And just before I went back to South Africa, just before my time was up, I spoke to a friend who I went to school with who lived in the UK at the time. And she said, just come to the UK for 6 months, come and stay with me and we will travel. My lovely friend called Sandy, she now lives in Australia. So I changed my plans very last minute before leaving America. I decided not to go back to South Africa, and I came to the UK, which I thought would be for 6 months to visit Sandy. I arrived in the UK, but after being here for 2 months, a mutual friend introduced me to Mark, and Mark and I have now been married for over 20 years. So thanks to Mark, I stayed in the UK, and I've really settled in and just loved it since I arrived. When I arrived in the UK, I started working for a very well-known tea brand, which was meant to be for 12 months, but I ended up staying there for 10 years. Sounds a bit familiar. I end up somewhere where I thought I'd be temporarily, and then I'm there forever. Really loved my time at this lovely company. I studied HR, human resources and coaching, and that's what my degree is in. So whilst I was working, I did a degree in human resources and coaching because I chose that path because I love people. I love being around them. I love connecting with them. I find people really interesting. So I thought a job in human resources, in coaching and helping people sounds just like something I want to do. So I did my degree. I worked at this lovely tea company for 10 years, and then the COVID pandemic hit. I have 2 boys. I had 2 boys in the meantime, and just everything came to a halt. And I was homeschooling my 2 boys, and it was a really stressful time. I remember that there were times where we could only walk outside once a day. We couldn't see anybody, we couldn't go anywhere, and it was a really stressful time for someone who's so used to being outdoors and seeing. I love people, and we just couldn't see people anymore, couldn't see friends, couldn't go outdoors, couldn't connect to nature. So I really started to feel the mental health benefits to indoor plants. My plants just completely drew me in. I started to repot, I started to water, wipe the leaves, and that was a complete form of mindfulness for me. After every homeschooling day, I used to go to my plants. I used to get my hands in soil by repotting, wipe the leaves, clean them. Even things like taking pictures of my plants. It's such a mindful element, taking a picture of a new leaf. It's satisfaction of seeing something grow. So I really found the mental health benefits during the COVID pandemic of how to care for houseplants. So I thought that if I find this really mindful and relaxing, then I'm sure other people must as well. So it started as a hobby for me, really, houseplants, and I decided to create these little kits that people can enjoy to really get their hands dirty in soil. And these little kits have everything you need to plant your new plant. So it's got a little plant cutting, you've got a pot, and all the soil elements that you mix together, so houseplant soil and bark and perlite and everything you need to make up a healthy soil recipe. So that's how my business started, by selling these little kits to people to encourage a mindfulness through planting. My business then, I left the tea company and my business just started to take off, and I just absolutely loved what I was doing. It's completely different to something that I was used to doing, and I started just running workshops. Planting workshops, pot painting workshops, terrarium making workshops. And now I've developed it so much that I install plants in offices for people to enjoy. My biggest client has nearly 200 plants in. So I've put in 200 plants for my biggest client. I'm there regularly to maintain it for them. I run team building workshops, making terrariums. I work with dementia care homes, planting with them. So planting is such a universal, ageless activity that anybody can do. And I feel so privileged that I have turned my hobby into something that I call my job. My job is very varied. One day I could be running a team building workshop. Another day I could be putting plants in an office. And I've now started my YouTube journey because I love the community that I have created on my other social media platforms, and I wanted to create the same on YouTube. So if you are watching this still, and if you are subscribed to my channel, I just want to say a huge thank you for being here. I was quite daunted at first by creating YouTube videos because it's so very different to just creating a reel or just posting some pictures. You actually have to talk, and it's surprising how much fun I have found it and how I'm loving it. It's like talking and sharing my knowledge and my experiences of planting just to anyone who would like to listen. If you are new to indoor plants and wondering whether it's something that you want to get into or having more plants in your space, I can't recommend it enough. I find so many mental health benefits to keeping and caring for plants. It, for me, is a form of mindfulness. Even this, getting my hands in soil, is hugely rewarding. There is something in soil, I believe, which is a happy bacteria. When we have our hands in soil, it releases our happy hormones, it releases our endorphins, and it just makes us feel happier, sometimes without us even realizing it. It's a grounding technique, and it's such a connection to nature. So if you're looking to get into plant care, I would love to share the benefits that I find, and even if you start with one plant, I can guarantee you it catches on really, really quickly. So some of the benefits I find is just complete switch off from the busyness around me. It gives me a purpose to focus on something completely different, and it just switches my brain off completely. I love seeing a new leaf grow. It gives me that satisfaction knowing that I have achieved something. And you know, once if you've never had a new leaf growth, you might not know what I mean, but all other plant parents will completely appreciate this. Seeing a new leaf on a plant is so satisfying. So if you haven't done that yet, if you haven't seen that yet, get yourself a plant and wait for a new leaf to grow. It's really oddly satisfying. The colour green is also aesthetically pleasing to look at, and it just makes a huge difference in any room that you might walk into. So whether you have one plant or two plants or 200 plants, I think it just adds that bit of colour and feeling that we are surrounded by nature. Even for children, I think it's such a great opportunity for children to get their hands in soil and to give them a purpose to look after another living thing. I absolutely believe that houseplants is a great opportunity for children to get off their screens, which, as you know, is a huge problem for young people. So get them out into nature, get their hands dirty, and enjoy the satisfaction of planting a new houseplant or caring for something which is another living thing. You don't have to spend a lot of money on plants. If you have a friend who has a plant, you can take a cutting. Often when you go into garden centres, there are some cuttings that are lying on the floor because the plant has broken off. So you could ask if you could take that cutting home and start growing it. There are some great channels and some great resources around. If you need any help with planting, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to get everybody into planting and just to realise the many mental health benefits there are to indoor plant care. Always ask me a question if you're not sure about what plant it is, how to care for it. I can talk about plants every day, and on my other social platforms I get so many different messages from people on a daily basis to say, what do I do with this plant? What is it? How can I care for it? And I love to help. That looks really lovely, doesn't it? So that's off to a school. I need to do 4 more of them because they get 5 plants for their wellbeing room for the students to look after. I'm going to continue potting these up, but I hope you enjoyed listening a little bit to my journey and how I got to where I am today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about my journey, about plant care, or anything plant related, please drop it in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Bye.